For those of y'all that don't know me, I'm Trey Price. I'm the extension and research, or a extension and research pathologist for LSU Ag Center. I'm based out of the Macon Ridge Research Station in Winsboro. I do work in Alexandria and St. Joseph as well. Actually, I was looking at the abstract and the proceedings, and apparently all I wrote it on was target spot. I didn't remember writing it. And for this talk, I was going through my notes from the season, and I was just going to cover everything that I got calls on. So it's not strictly going to be about target spots. It's going to kind of be my experiences this summer and in previous summers with a number of things. But I do have some target spot information in there, and hopefully it'll be good for everybody. We'll start off with, I always get questions on seedling diseases in cotton. And just as a kind of a refresher, which may be a little boring for you guys in here, Rhizoctonia, Pythium, Thalaviopsis, that's your main culprits. They're most beneficial under stressful conditions, poorly drained soils, cool weather, poor seed quality, and me trying to kill seedlings, and proper planting date, appropriate soil temperature, weather forecast. You want to make sure all those things line up when you're planting your crop. And fungicide seed treatments are very effective. This is an example of a fungicide seed treatment test we had in 2016. I didn't put any of the specific products here, but to give you an idea, we've got modes of action, 3, 4, 5 modes of action, 4 modes of action, 5 modes of action, and that's fungicides only. And we inoculated this trial. We tried to kill it. Cotton, to quote Daniel Stevenson, cotton comes out of the ground trying to die. And we actually are very good at making cotton die at the Macon Ridge Station. So we've got Rhizoctonia solani inoculated, represented by the blue bars here. As you see, with insecticide only, we hammered our plots. Our stand was down to less than a plant per foot. You had 3 modes of action. We brought that back up to around 1.5 seed per foot, and in 4 or 5 across the board, it's very comparable to all those treatments. Very comparable. So, but we also had a real-world situation out there too. We had plots that were not inoculated in the same test. So this would be a real-world situation where we actually had some natural disease pressure out there, and the 3 modes of action was comparable to the 4 and 5. So also made differences in yield here. Our non-treated, this is the inoculated plots. Several of these were significantly higher with the seed treatments. So not so much with our non-inoculated. It's hard to separate out treatments sometimes in cotton because it can rebound on you. Moving on to the leaf spot complex. Lots of calls on this over the years, not so much last year. It's generally caused by a lot of different fungi, Alternaria, Stymphalium, Cercospora, Ascochyta. Most of the time I see this, it's during drought, where you have potassium deficiencies, and that kind of goes hand in hand. I've also seen this with lay-by injury, herbicide injury. I've seen these leaf spots blow up in fields and actually cause some losses in that situation. There may be some resistant varieties to this, but it depends on the organism. I've seen some varieties that may be resistant to Alternaria, but not to Cercospora. So it'd be a hard research project, a very difficult research project, actually finding resistant varieties of this. Fungicides are effective, but most of the time we don't recommend them for these leaf spots because 99% of the time this is a cosmetic issue. I don't think we're taking any yield losses of this most of the time. Here's a trial cotton where I was looking at cotton leaf spots. Our treatments here, headline, top guard Praxis quadrus, hit it the first week of bloom, and the 3rd week of bloom was our timing here. Significant reduction in cotton leaf spot, that complex. Really didn't show a difference in yield there. Maybe the disease wasn't severe enough, but I don't think the spots got bad enough to really make a difference here. The big issue that everybody's been having 2 out of the past 3 seasons is target spot. Now this disease will cause significant losses, and it will defoliate cotton very quickly under the right situations. If you're a cotton scout and you're looking for plant bugs, this is what you need to be looking for in the lower part of the canopy. These lesions start as little gray spots before they start expanding. You can see here we've got these little gray spots, and we've got larger lesions there. All of those spots on that leaf are target spot. And it advances to this, causes defoliation. It could be a toxin involved, we don't know yet. Starts in the bottom of the canopy, moves its way up, and can go very quickly without you noticing if you're not out in the cotton field. This is at Dean Lee. I let this cotton get about 6 feet tall that year. That was in 2014, and it's 2/3 defoliated, pretty much. So, depending on when disease starts, is when you're going to see if you'll see a yield loss. Also, a new symptom type for target spot. When you have a field that's been hit hard with target spot, and the disease has progressed, and all you have is a top shell of that canopy left, the organism behaves differently, so it makes a different lesion. I consistently isolated, or not isolated, but saw Coronespora spores in these lesions last year. So when the symptoms get different when they're up, because there's different environmental conditions after you've lost all the leaves down here. So, and it looks exactly like the cotton leaf spot complex, which adds another bit of confusion to the situation. 2014, as far as distribution goes, very heavy, particularly in areas where most of the cotton's grown. 2015, I couldn't find target spot. I found 2 fields, and it was very light, and that was in rank cotton, irrigated cotton. 2016, same thing, about the same story as 2014. The difference is there. What was the difference? Weather. Rainfall events. 2014, we had 16 total rainfall events from the 1st of July to the middle of August. And I could extend that out for 2 months, and it would be a lot more probably. In 2016, 12 events and 7 or 8 inches total. This is higher in central Louisiana. This is taken in Chase, Louisiana, which is in northeast Louisiana. Central Louisiana really got hammered this year with rain, worse than northeast part of the state. Fungicide trials, we've been conducting a regional fungicide trial since 2014, looking at this treatment set on 499 and 1137. I just took out the 499 because the 1137, this treatments really don't separate out as well. We've got headline top guard Preaxor quadris and 2 non-treateds here. The 3rd week of bloom in 2014. Thank you, Olivia. 2014, yeah. We've got the significant disease severity reduction with the headline and the Preaxor treatments. Similar trial in Winsboro here. We didn't really see any significant yield preservation, but you can see right here the two highest yielding plots were those, or treatments were those. In Winsboro, we had a late trial that developed target spot. A little bit different setup here. This was a trial we did in conjunction with BASF. This is a 2-shot program. This is 2 shots of headline, 2 shots of Preaxor, and one followed by the other, and vice versa. We had significant reduction in disease severity with all of those treatments actually compared to the non-treated, and there were trends towards yield preservation with the 2 shots here. Some of the highest yielding plots were with the 2-shot program. So in situations where you have severe disease, there are fungicide options available. 2016, basically the same story. I've got 2 rating dates on here, so it makes the slide a little busy. If you concentrate on the first rating date, that's our defoliation on 8/11. We've got the 1st week of bloom Preaxor, 3rd week of bloom headline, and Preaxor with significantly reduced defoliation. And no differences in yield. There's a lot of variability in that trial. We weren't able to show any significant yield preservation in that one. Also, very similar in 2016 in Winsboro here. The headline of Preaxor, the 3rd week of bloom, was the best timing, and no significant differences in yield. There were trends towards yield preservation. I mentioned the regional trial we've been working on. What we've ended up here, these are the cooperators here, and this trial was conducted throughout the Southeast. Common treatments, just different locations. We've got 16 site years. 1 of 12 locations in 14 and 15, we showed significant yield preservation with those treatments, or with any treatment. 3 of 8 in 2016 showed significant yield preservation, and the average yield response to the fungicide application was 5% in this trial. This was presented at the Beltwide. There's an abstract online. It should be online soon for you all to read if you like. So as far as management goes, scouting's key. Early season, if you're looking for plant bugs, that's when you need to look for target spot. Watch the weather. If we're going to have rainy weather in July and August, we're going to see target spot. Neighboring soybeans, there's a target spot that goes to soybeans. It prefers the same conditions. So if you're scouting soybeans next to cotton and you see target spot developing in the soybeans, more than likely you're going to see it develop in the cotton at some point. Excessive canopy growth, that's key. The canopy management, any ranked cotton variety can get this. I don't know of any completely resistant cotton varieties. I've seen all the cotton varieties, if they get ranked, they will have a tendency to get target spot. Fungicide applications, if you make a decision to put out a fungicide, the ideal timing on it is before canopy closure, because you have to deliver that product down low in the canopy before you can't. If your canopy closes, you can't get the product. It's just like insecticides, you can't get the product to where it needs to go. The likelihood of return on investment, it's a crapshoot. It's basically the disease is weather driven, so it depends on the weather if disease is going to get severe or not. So maximum water volume, high volume and pressure. Of course, that's your best management practices there. And don't panic. If it develops late, more than likely you're not going to see a yield loss. And in my experience, revenge applications really haven't shown. Where I could tell it was a benefit for putting those applications out. Also, I had some questions about boll rot and the relationship between target spot and boll rot. This is the same trial where we had severe target spot, same treatments, and this was at St. Joseph. I went through and rated visually. I didn't really see any obvious differences in the percentage of boll rot in that trial. Also in Winsboro, we had some boll rot, or that should be Winsboro. Yeah, that one's Winsboro. I didn't mess that slide up. But I didn't see any obvious differences. These did not separate out statistically, but that's something we're going to look at in the future as far as the fungicide applications on boll rot severity. Boll rots, I think we took more losses due to boll rots than target spot last year. This picture was taken in central Louisiana. I would estimate 40 to 50% of that field, the bolls in that field, were rotten. It was a pretty sad situation, and I advised the consultant not to put any more money in it. That's a picture of the boll rots up close. We're kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature with boll rots, and I haven't done much work with boll rots over my career. I looked in the compendium just to get an idea, and to review, that can be caused by 170 different species of fungi. And here the main culprits are right here. You've got three kinds of disease cycles associated with these organisms: soil-borne, seed-borne, and the foliar pathogens can also affect bolls. Management. This is straight out of the compendium. Pathogen-free seed. Also, of course, weather that favors target spot is going to favor boll rot. And there's the excessive vegetative growth right there. Proper nitrogen fertilization, PGR applications. I don't know anybody who wants to go skip row in Louisiana, but I have seen it over the years. And the wide row spacings may help out with boll rots. Fungicides is a big question mark. I looked in plant disease management reports. If you're not familiar with plant disease management reports, if you're a consultant, you probably should subscribe to the Plant Management Network and have access to these reports. I looked from 1999. Well, actually, did a search on all of these reports, and I only found 15 reports where we have effective fungicides on boll rots. And I've had a lot of questions this year. Will a fungicide application help? I looked, and 11 out of 15 showed no significant yield increase from any treatment, any fungicide treatment. And that's just relative to non-treated plots. 8 out of the 15 showed lower boll rot or hard lock severity. With all of these treatments here, benlate, foliar, quadristilt, topsin, that's not made anymore, and I don't think topsin has a label in cotton. But in the trials that showed differences, reductions in disease severity with topsin, it was usually a minimum of 2 shots of topsin. In some cases, 3 or 4 shots. So I don't see that as a viable management practice, putting out 4 shots of topsin for boll rot. One trial had quadris with 1 shot, and it showed a yield increase in half the plots. But there's very limited information out there, so we need to know. More work needs to be done with boll rots, and I'm currently not recommending any fungicides for management. So basically, again, at the mercy of Mother Nature on that. Another thing that's popped up over the past several years is bacterial leaf blight or angular leaf spot. This is pretty easy to diagnose if you know what you're looking for. Anytime you see these lesions on here and they just kind of square, that's what they mean by angular. They're rectangular. Sometimes they follow the veins. It's pretty easy to diagnose. There are resistant varieties, but I saw it fairly widespread last year. Here's a picture where one follows the vein. Also, on the petioles, you can have lesions like that on the petioles. And black arm, that's another name for it. That's where that name comes from, the black arm disease. All caused by the same bacterium. A variation on this that I've been seeing that people have been confusing with target spot is this is bacterial leaf blight. It's not target spot. And you look in all of these, in the middle of all these lesions, you've got an angular where the bacteria came in there and infected that leaf. And then you've got where it's spread out, that's a secondary fungal invader that's causing that. I think it's a phoma, but I'm not positive yet. It's close up there. You see the angular lesion in there, and then it spreads out. So that's something I've seen on some varieties that was, could be confused with target spot. You can diagnose this on the turn row if you've got a bottle of water. Just cut the bottle of water and suspend a leaf in there. If you look real close, you can see the bacterial streaming coming out of that leaf. That's just millions of bacterial spores coming out of there. So, and you can do that with any bacterial disease in any crop. It's just a little trick of the trade that can save you a phone call and save you some time, save you a cost on a fungicide application. But management, resistant varieties, there are some resistant varieties. If you've got overhead irrigation, you want to limit that. If you've got bacterial blight, again, plant height, PGRs. And my advice usually is just manage it like you're going to make 3 bales. The worst defoliation I've seen was in Red River, Cushiata area, and that's around 10 or 15%, and that farm ended up picking 3 bales. He had a good year. So it's just something that's out there. I'm not too excited about it. I don't think we're going to see major losses due to it, but hopefully I won't eat my words on that. But I thank y'all for supporting us. If y'all have any questions, go right ahead with them.
Are y'all going to try to look at any variety tolerance of target spot in the future as a regional group like Mississippi, Arkansas?
Yes, the man that has all that information that's doing a lot of work on that is Austin Hagen out of Auburn University. He's done a lot of that work, and he's published it in the plant disease management reports. And he'll do variety screenings every year. They get target spot every year in South Alabama. And he'll screen them, but he really doesn't find any resistance. It's a range. Maybe some are tolerant, and maybe some are really not tolerant. So, but was that the weather report?
I was trying to solve
That's why.
You said you did see
Just
some
leave it to hang.
quadrus for the bull rocking. Was it 5 pounds, 50 pounds? What kind of yield?
I'd have to go back and look at that particular report. I didn't do that. A lot of that work was done out of Auburn, Kathy Lawrence, and some of it was done by my predecessor, Boyd Padgett.
So, like, just say, you have an August like we got coming on, you've got cotton opening up and everything else. Would it be worthwhile just to say do a little test strip, try it out, see if it doesn't help you or something?
Quadrus has a label in cotton, so if you do it, let me know where it is. I'll come count it. And there's
You can also look at the latest on that, which is a mixture of RQ, SDHI, and
any more questions? All right, next up is Mr. Hank